In today's world, the landscape of religious demographics is shifting in fascinating ways across continents and cultures. Islam is experiencing rapid growth, even in countries traditionally known for their Christian heritage. From bustling urban centers to serene rural landscapes, these nations are witnessing a significant rise in Muslim populations. This trend is not just a matter of numbers, it's a reflection of broader social, economic, and cultural dynamics at play. As we take a look at the list of 10 Christian-majority countries where Islam is growing rapidly, we'll explore the unique factors that contribute to this phenomenon. Each country on this list has its own story, shaped by historical ties, migration patterns, and the youthful energy of its population. These elements combine to create environments where Islam can flourish alongside existing religious traditions. Number 10. China. China, a land of ancient traditions and rapid modernization, presents a unique landscape for religious growth. While Christianity has been making significant inroads, Islam is also experiencing growth, particularly among ethnic minority groups. Predominantly Muslim ethnic groups, such as the Hui and Uyghurs, have seen their populations grow faster than the majority Han population. Between the 2010 and 2020 censuses, these groups grew by 9% to 17.9 million, compared to a 5% growth in the Han majority, which reached 1.02 billion. This demographic shift is partly due to higher birth rates among these communities. The history of Islam in China dates back to the 7th century, when Arab and Persian merchants introduced the faith. Over time, it spread inland, especially during the Mongol conquest in the 13th century. Today, the Hui people, who include Muslims of various origins, represent a significant portion of China's Muslim population. Despite facing challenges, including government restrictions and persecution, these communities continue to practice their faith, contributing to Islam's steady growth in the country. However, the Chinese government's stance on religion complicates this growth. Islam, like Christianity, is considered a foreign religion by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, leading to stricter regulations and oversight. The CCP's policies aim to align religious practices with Chinese culture and ideology, creating additional hurdles for Islamic communities. Despite these challenges, the resilience and cultural richness of China's Muslim communities ensure that Islam remains a vibrant part of the country's religious history. Number 9. South Africa. Moving to South Africa, we find another intriguing case of Islamic growth. Known for its diverse cultural and religious landscape, South Africa has a small but steadily growing Muslim population. Islam was introduced to the region by Malay slaves and Indian indentured laborers brought by colonial powers. Today, the Muslim community is primarily concentrated in the Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal provinces. In recent years, South Africa has seen an increase in conversions to Islam, driven by various factors. The country's history of racial and social inequality has led many to seek spiritual solace and community within Islam, which emphasizes equality and justice. Additionally, the presence of a vibrant Muslim community, with its rich cultural traditions and active social networks, attracts individuals seeking a sense of belonging and identity. The growth of Islam in South Africa is also supported by the country's constitutional commitment to religious freedom. Unlike in China, South African Muslims can practice their faith openly and without fear of persecution. This environment fosters a sense of security and encourages the spread of Islamic teachings and practices. Moreover, the active involvement of Muslim organizations in social and charitable activities enhances the community's visibility and appeal. Despite being a minority religion, Islam's influence in South Africa is notable, with the community's contributions to education, business, and social welfare widely recognized. Number 8. Italy. Number 8. Italy. Italy is a place steeped in history, with its roots deeply intertwined with the rise of Christianity. The presence of the Vatican City, the heart of the Catholic Church, makes it a significant Christian stronghold. But here's the twist. Islam is growing here, and there are some pretty interesting reasons behind this trend. First off, let's talk about the numbers. According to a 2021 study by the Center for Studies of New Religions, about 74.5% of Italians and foreigners living in Italy identify as Catholic. However, the Muslim population is on the rise, currently making up around 3.7% of the population. This growth can be attributed to several factors, including migration patterns and historical ties. Italy's history with Islam dates back to the 9th century when Sicily was under the control of the Aghlabid dynasty. Fast forward to the 20th century, and you have waves of Muslim migrants from countries like Libya, Somalia, Eritrea, and Albania thanks to Italy's colonial past. More recently, there has been an influx of Muslims from countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and North Africa. These migrations have contributed to the spread of Islam in Italy. Today, the majority of Muslims in Italy are Sunni, with a small Shiite community and a few Ahmadi Muslims. This diversity has led to challenges, including a lack of cohesive leadership within the Muslim community, which the Italian government has tried to address through initiatives like the Consulta per l'Islam Italiano, a council aimed at fostering dialogue between the Muslim community and the government. However, it's not all smooth sailing. Islam is not formally recognized by the Italian state, meaning it doesn't enjoy the same benefits as other religions that have official agreements with the government. This lack of recognition can pose challenges for the Muslim community, especially when it comes to issues like religious education and the construction of mosques. Despite these hurdles, the Muslim community in Italy continues to grow and adapt, finding ways to practice their faith while navigating the complexities of Italian society. Number 7, Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Christianity is the dominant faith, with over 95% of the population identifying as Christian. However, Islam, despite being a minority, is making its presence felt. The Muslim community is small but vibrant and growing, with estimates suggesting Muslims make up around 1.5% to 10% of the population, depending on who you ask. Historically, Islam was introduced to the region by Afro-Arab traders in the 18th and 19th centuries, primarily through trade routes linked to the East African coast. These traders, like the famous Tipu Tip, were more interested in commerce than conversion, but their influence left a lasting mark. Geographically, the eastern part of the DRC, particularly Maniema province, has the highest concentration of Muslims, especially in cities like Kasongo and Kendu, where Muslims constitute a significant portion of the population. The growth of Islam in the DRC isn't just about numbers, it's also about education and community building. Since the early 2000s, there has been a noticeable increase in Islamic educational institutions. For instance, the number of Islamic primary schools in Maniema province more than doubled from 29 to 76 between 2003 and 2009. Nationally, the Muslim community now runs over 800 schools providing both primary and secondary education. This expansion reflects a broader trend of increased organization and visibility within the Muslim community, which has historically faced marginalization. Number 6, Russia. Russia, a land of vodka, vast landscapes, and a rich history, is home to a significant Muslim population. As of 2022, about 71% of Russians identified as Orthodox Christians, but the Muslim population is growing rapidly. It's estimated that around 25 million Muslims live in Russia, and this growth is largely fueled by high birth rates among Muslim families and immigration from Central Asia. Russia's Muslim population is concentrated in regions like the North Caucasus, Tatarstan, and Bashkortostan. These areas have historically been Muslim majority, with ethnic groups like the Chechens, Ingush, and Tatars playing a leading role. For example, Dagestan boasts a staggering 98% Muslim population. The Russian government officially recognizes Islam as one of the country's traditional religions, alongside Christianity, Buddhism, and Judaism, which provides a certain level of state support for its growth. However, there are challenges. There is a need for more mosques and Islamic educational institutions to cater to the growing community. Despite these hurdles, the future of Islam in Russia looks promising, and major cities like Moscow have seen the construction of grand mosques, such as the Moscow Cathedral Mosque, one of the largest in Europe. Number 5, Nigeria. Now let's hop over to Nigeria, a country where religion is as diverse as its vibrant culture. Nigeria is often seen as a religious melting pot, with Christianity and Islam being the two dominant faiths. But here's the thing, Islam is growing rapidly, especially in the northern regions. With a population of over 200 million people, Nigeria is Africa's most populous country, and its religious landscape is a fascinating mix of beliefs and practices. In Nigeria, Islam is primarily practiced in the north, where states like Kano, Kaduna, and Sokoto have large Muslim populations. The growth of Islam here is driven by several factors, including high birth rates and a strong sense of community among Muslims. It's like a well-oiled machine, with each part working together to keep the faith alive and thriving. And let's not forget the influence of Islamic scholars and leaders who play a crucial role in guiding the community. But it's not just about numbers. The cultural impact of Islam in Nigeria is profound. From the colorful hijabs worn by women to the rhythmic beats of traditional Hausa music, Islam is woven into the fabric of everyday life. It's a part of the experience that adds depth and richness to Nigeria's cultural identity. And speaking of culture, have you ever tried Nigerian jollof rice? It's a delicious dish that's often served at Muslim celebrations, and trust me, it's a party for your taste buds. Of course, there are challenges too. Religious tensions occasionally flare up, particularly in regions where Christianity and Islam intersect. But despite these challenges, many Nigerians are committed to fostering peace and understanding between different faiths. It's a bit like a dance where each step requires careful coordination and respect for one another's beliefs. So, while Nigeria may be known for its Nollywood films and Afrobeat music, it's also a place where Islam is growing and evolving. It's a dynamic landscape where faith and culture intertwine, creating a unique and ever-changing mosaic. And as we continue to watch this growth unfold, one thing is clear: Islam is an integral part of Nigeria's story, shaping its present and future in ways both big and small. Number 4, Ethiopia. Ethiopia, a land of ancient history and diverse cultures, is witnessing a fascinating religious dynamic. Christianity has deep roots here, with the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, EOTC, being a significant part of the country's identity since the 4th century AD, when it became the official religion. This church, along with other Christian denominations like Pentecostal and Roman Catholicism, makes up about 67.3% of the population. However, Islam, which arrived in Ethiopia in the 7th century, is growing steadily and now accounts for approximately 31.5% of the population. The story of Islam's introduction to Ethiopia is quite remarkable. It began when a group of Muslims fled persecution in Mecca and found refuge under the protection of the Christian king Arma of Aksum. This early acceptance laid the groundwork for Islam's presence in the region, particularly in areas like Afar, Somali, and parts of Oromia, where it remains most prevalent today. The coexistence of these two major religions over centuries has shaped Ethiopia's cultural and social landscape. Despite historical tensions, there have been periods of peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. For instance, during the reign of Emperor Johannes IV in the late 19th century, efforts were made to convert Muslims to Christianity, but many retained their faith, contributing to the rich religious diversity in the country. Today, Ethiopia's religious scene is vibrant, with evangelical Christian and Pentecostal groups also gaining followers, reflecting a broader trend of religious dynamism across Africa. In 2020, Africa was home to nearly 658 million Christians, with projections suggesting this number could reach 760 million by 2025. And now, a lighthearted detour. Did you know that Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee? Legend has it that a goat herder named Kaldi discovered the energizing effects of coffee beans after noticing his goats becoming lively after eating them. This little anecdote adds a flavorful twist to Ethiopia's rich cultural heritage. And speaking of flavors, if you ever visit, don't miss out on trying injera, a sourdough flatbread. Number 3, Philippines. Moving on to the Philippines, another country where Islam is experiencing growth amidst a predominantly Christian population. The Philippines is known for its strong Catholic tradition, with about 80% of its population adhering to Roman Catholicism. This is a legacy of Spanish colonization, which left a lasting impact on the country's religious landscape. However, Islam has deep historical roots in the Philippines, particularly in the southern regions like Mindanao and the Sulu archipelago. These areas have been home to Muslim communities long before the arrival of Spanish colonizers in the 16th century. In recent years, the Muslim population in the Philippines has been growing, currently making up around 6% of the total population. This growth is attributed to both natural population increase and conversions. The government has recognized the importance of fostering interfaith dialogue and understanding, especially in regions with significant Muslim populations. Efforts are being made to address historical grievances and promote peace and development in Mindanao, where conflicts have often been framed along religious lines. The Philippines' geographical diversity plays a role in its religious dynamics. With over 7,000 islands, the country is a melting pot of cultures and traditions. This diversity is reflected in its religious practices, where indigenous beliefs often blend with mainstream religions, creating a unique spiritual landscape. The vibrant festivals, colorful traditions, and warm hospitality of the Filipino people add to the country's charm, making it a fascinating place to explore both culturally and spiritually. Number 2, Brazil. Brazil, the land of samba, football, and carnival, has long been recognized as a predominantly Christian nation, with Catholicism being the largest denomination. This deep-rooted Catholic tradition dates back to the 16th century when Portuguese colonizers introduced the faith. However, in recent years, there's been a noticeable shift in the religious dynamics of this vast South American country. While Catholicism still holds a significant place, the rise of Islam, albeit from a small base, is an intriguing development. The history of Islam in Brazil is quite rich and dates back to the days of African slavery. Brazil received more enslaved Muslims than any other country in the Americas, and these African Muslims played a crucial role in the cultural identity of Brazil. One notable event was the Male Revolt in 1835, where African Muslim slaves in Bahia staged a significant uprising. Although the revolt was suppressed, it left a lasting impact on the country's religious history. Fast forward to the 20th century, and we see another wave of Islamic influence with the arrival of immigrants from the Middle East, particularly Lebanon and Syria. These communities have established themselves primarily in urban areas like Sao Paulo and Parana. The growth of Islam in Brazil is also fueled by conversions among non-Arab Brazilians, with an estimated 10,000 converts in recent years. This trend is supported by the construction of mosques, libraries, and cultural centers, which serve as hubs for the Muslim community. Despite being a minority religion, Islam's presence in Brazil is becoming more visible. There are over 150 mosques across the country, and the community is actively involved in promoting interfaith dialogue and cultural exchange. The secular nature of Brazil's constitution allows Muslims to practice their faith freely, contributing to the gradual increase in the Muslim population. By 2050, it's projected that there could be around 15 to 20 million Muslims in Latin America, with Brazil playing a significant role in this growth. And number 1, United States. Now let's hop over to the United States, a melting pot of cultures and religions. The U.S. is predominantly Christian, but it boasts a remarkable diversity of faiths, including a growing Muslim population. The story of Islam in America is one of immigration, conversion, and adaptation. Islam first made its way to the U.S. through African slaves, much like in Brazil. However, the modern growth of Islam in America can be attributed to waves of immigration from Muslim-majority countries, particularly after the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which abolished previous quotas based on national origin. This led to an influx of Muslims from the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa, who brought their faith and traditions with them. Today, the Muslim population in the U.S. is estimated to be around 3.45 million, making up about 1.1% of the total population. This number is expected to grow due to higher birth rates among Muslim families and continued immigration. Interestingly, Islam is also gaining followers through conversion, with African Americans making up a significant portion of Muslim converts. The Nation of Islam, founded in the 1930s, played a pivotal role in introducing Islam to African American communities. In terms of infrastructure, the U.S. is home to over 2,000 mosques, with major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago having vibrant Muslim communities. These mosques not only serve as places of worship, but also as community centers offering educational programs, social services, and interfaith initiatives. The Muslim community in the U.S. is diverse, encompassing various ethnicities and sects, including Sunni, Shia, and Sufi traditions. Despite facing challenges such as Islamophobia and discrimination, American Muslims continue to contribute to the country's social, economic, and cultural fabric. They are active in various fields, from politics and academia to business and the arts. The future of Islam in the U.S. looks promising, with younger generations embracing their faith while engaging with broader American society.